It came from an article in Scientific American. I've always been a bit of a science geek, and I used to read it regularly to get ideas. That's a lot of the stuff I got for Iron Man came from articles I had read in Scientific American. I was an incredibly geeky kid. I remember reading a story about nanites back when they were still fairly theoretical, and I thought, rather than being bit by a radioactive spider, this kind of makes some good scientific sense. What if you created a modern day Frankenstein, but used nanites to resurrect the fellow instead of, bugaboo science or whatever. So that was the origin where I started working on the character, although he wasn't called Bloodshot at the time. That came up later once Kevin started collaborating with me on it. I helped create the Tony Stark persona in Iron Man, and it's like I know for me, who he was when he wasn't being Iron Man was more important than when he was. He was out there with the armor and stuff on. Same with Bloodshot in a lot of ways. What makes you relate to him is the things he does that you can relate to as a human being. Because none of us have nanites in us. None of us can relate to, being able to pop bullets back out of our bodies or anything. But we can relate to those moments where we sit back and reflect on our life a little bit and realize just how odd it is.
I would say that 26 years is a long time for the life of a comic book. And I would say the fact that we created characters that were human was a big part of it. They were different. We used nanites, but we had to explain that to a society that had no idea what that word meant, which was microscopic computers, or actually nanoscopic computers inside his bloodstream.
Which everybody knows now. Yeah.
Right. Well, today it's much, at the time it was literally conversations where it's like, is this going to be clear enough for the average reader to understand what we're doing?
Just remember, he was the first of his kind. Science fiction is what is going to be, without hesitation. I have no doubt we will walk on Mars. We are working toward that now. That is science fiction. That's going to happen. What Dave is trying to say is what's happening with Bloodshot is science fiction. That's within the grasp. We're just not there yet, but that's exactly where we're going.
I think the film Bloodshot is going to be a logical extension of what we did in the books and what the various incarnations of Bloodshot has been, which is a strong emphasis on character, strong emphasis on story. You're dealing with a human being that had all these things happen to him. It's not just a glyph. It's not a cipher that you just know because they have superpowers. And I think that's what's going to make it stand out, is the fact that it's also not just a traditional greet, meet, defeat superhero versus a villain story.